Who you a fool for this? Who you a fool for this?
I walk like I talk like I act like I look like I think like my shit don't stink. I fuck like I suck like I ride like I taste like I look like my shit don't stink. I walk like I talk like I act like.
Sup y'all, we are back at the gym with Adrian, and today instead of showing you guys my actual workout, I'm going to go through like all of the glute movements that I've had to relearn in the past couple years as a quad dominant girly. So if you're a quad dominant girly and you need to learn how to do a hip thrust, an RDL, a Bulgarian, a bunch of shit, that's what we're doing today. Okay, yeah, let's go. Okay, welcome to Kenzie's Glute School 101. First, before we get into all the movements, we need to talk about what you need to feel when you're doing any kind of glute movement, because you need to understand what the sensation is you're supposed to feel before you actually do the movement. Feel me? So, when it comes to glutes, you're either training them in the lengthened or the shortened position. When you do something like a hip thrust, you're training it in this shortened position here, right? When you do an RDL, you're training it in the lengthened position. So what I find a lot of people, the problem is, you feel this burn with a hip thrust, right? So this burn you feel, people expect to feel that same burn on an RDL, but that doesn't make any sense, right? Because this is shortened position, this is lengthened position. So as we go through these, I will tell you guys what is in the shortened position, what is in the lengthened position, and then above all else, yes, these are cues that'll help you with, and there's textbook form, right? Sensation and how you feel the movement trumps fucking all, okay? So I don't care if somebody says, oh, well, your feet have to be straight forward on a hip thrust. If you feel it better with your toes turned out a bit, fucking do it, bitch. So we will start with hip thrust, move into RDLs, do glute med kickbacks, single leg hip press or leg press, Bulgarians, and then dumbbell sumo squats and step ups. Okay, we're gonna start with a hip thrust. You can use a barbell. I will be using a machine. I know not everyone has this machine, but the cues still work no matter what you're on. My gym just doesn't let you get full depth on like a Smith machine, and the barbell setup is fucking weird. So this is what we're using, but you can use a barbell, you can use a hip drive, you can use any hip machine you wanna use, any hip thrust machine. We will be using this. Step one, take your fucking shoes off. If you know me, I will always be barefoot in the gym. When it comes to any leg movement, you wanna think about your feet like a fucking eagle. You're gonna spread your toes and claw the fucking floor. Also, think about, with every glute movement, push through your heels. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. If you are a quad dominant girl, pushing up through your toes, you're gonna feel it through your fucking quads. So, when we're in a hip thrust, you wanna think about keeping your feet wider than shoulder width. I kinda go far. I go further than that. I push my toes out almost like it's a sumo stance when you're here. And if you're on a barbell, we want a 90-degree angle here between our shins and our femur. However, when you're under the barbell and you're feeling it right there, a lot of the time you think it's at a 90-degree angle and it's not. So think about pushing your heels towards your butt more than you think you need to, like to the point where you think it might be too far back, because it's honestly probably not. Then, when you do a hip thrust, think about this almost like a horizontal RDL. So think about getting a full stretch here, contracting your glutes, and coming up from that point. So it's almost like you're getting that stretch here, all the way there, contract, push up. Something that has helped me a lot too is thinking about it less of like a thrust, because I find that a lot of people just go thrust up, thrust up. Think about controlling the weight all the way down. See how my toes come up a little bit? Once you're here, contract your glutes. I know when I say contract, you're probably like, bitch, what the actual fuck? Think about almost squeezing them. Obviously, your glutes aren't squeezing together because your ass cheeks are already spread apart, but think about contracting. Touch your glute if you have to, feel that glute engaged, and then use your glutes to pull you all the way up here. Something that helps me too is thinking about pushing the floor apart as I come up and pushing up through my heel here. Something that's also important is tucking your hips underneath you and engaging your core. A lot of the time people will say, oh, my back hurts during hip thrusts, my back hurts. You probably just have weak glutes and your back is trying to take over for you, so you want to try to minimize your erectors right here, erector engagement at all fucking costs. Also, if you're having back issues with hip thrusts, I find a lot of the time, this is like the #1 piece of like critique I give to my clients when it comes to hip thrusts. What a lot of people do is, let's say this is the bench. Your back should just be hitting it. It shouldn't be curved over. So a lot of people will start here and go down like this. Look at my back right here, and they'll go up from there. And they let their whole upper back stay here. What you wanna do, engage your core, just let your back hit the bench like that. Your whole torso goes down as your hips go down, and then you push up. So you're going like this tilting like that and then coming up instead of just letting your lower back go and then push up. Okay, so let's put all that together now. I start with my feet kind of wide, push myself up here, control and feel your hamstrings and glutes the entire time. I'm going down, contract these glutes, pull up from there. It's like an RDL. Contract, pull from there. However, I got a lot of feedback from you guys saying that when you go heavier, you feel your quads. The second you get so low where you get your knees coming back towards your face, stop the movement. You want to keep the tension on your glutes the entire time. Contract, pull up from there. And keep this core engaged. If somebody came over and poked your core, it should be fucking engaged. That's it. And when you're relearning how to do these, start with lightweight, get that contraction down, and then slowly go up. If you just go back to your 5 plates per side, whatever you were doing, and move the fucking weight, your quads are gonna take over. You wanna make sure you're actively thinking of stretching, contracting, and pulling back up. Just like that. Now for RDLs. The biggest thing that I see people doing wrong with RDLs is actively trying to bring the weight down like that. You need to remember that this is a hip hinge movement. Your upper body is only moving forward because your hips are driving back like that. You're not actively going down. You are stuck here and your hips are the only reason why that drives back. Now, when it comes to making these glute focused, for years I did these and it was like hamstring fucking city because I was pushing these hips back here, but look at my knees. You wanna think about you're pushing your hips back and then you keep on bending your knees a bit because when you bend your knees, you give yourself an even greater range of motion, getting a bigger stretch all the way up through here. When you do these, think about engaging your core, bracing your core so that your erectors don't take over the movement. Think about rolling your shoulders back and engaging your lats. If somebody hits your lats right here, they should be engaged. Think about almost like squeezing a tennis ball in between your armpits. Drive these hips back, bend these knees, push, 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 but keep these hips high. Push, push, push until you can't go back anymore. Once you can't push anymore, you don't go down. You stay here, contract your glutes like we did on that hip thrust, and pull up from there. Think about pulling your asshole in. Almost like we got a little seam on our shorts. The seam goes out, 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 contract, pull the seam back in like that. However, you do want to make sure that this doesn't turn into a squat. What I see a lot of people do is here, and then they come up. You are pushing these back with a knee bend, push, 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 push. Feel this all the way up to your tie-in, and then pull yourself up. So let's put it all together. Shoulders back, engage your core. I like to put them more on the outside corner rather than right in front of me so that I can keep this open. Push back, 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 back. Push through these heels here and pull up from there. Push through those heels and think about keeping most of your weight in the back of your heel. You'll often see me do this on like a pit shark with a cable. The reason I like the pit shark cable machine is because the cable can be right between your feet and you can bring as much of your weight on your heels, but without falling backwards because you're holding the cable. That makes sense, but yay, that's RDLs. Okay, next movement you guys asked me about were dumbbell sumo squats and step-ups. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I don't fucking do those. I think there are much better movements for your glutes, especially if you're a quad dominant girly, but I will show you what I have learned, but I'm gonna be so for real with you. They're not in my program, I don't do them regularly, but I can help you feel a squat in your glutes. So there's a couple different ways I see people do these. In general, when you do a squat, you wanna think about driving your hips back. If you guys follow my client Gemma, the one that I was posting about that competed in December, she squats like very much like this, hits 90 degrees, comes up. Her ass is fat. There's a reason why her ass is fat. Because how I would naturally squat and how I built my fucking quads is squatting down like this. Do you see how up and down I am and how much like knee flexion I have? You wanna think about pushing these hips like that, getting that full stretch. So remember we talk about stretching here, stretching at the bottom of a hip thrust. You are stretching and then pulling your glutes up and under like that. I prefer to do, instead of a dumbbell sumo squat, a Smith machine squat, because you can like kind of like lay against the bar, and it allows for you to get nice and wide here and push your hips back. I prefer it on a Smith machine. You can do dumbbells too. So we're gonna hold her like this, right? I'm gonna do it from the side so you guys can see. Sumo, bring your toes out to the corner, push these hips back and let your glutes drop. Contract them like we talked about before. Push your knees out. So think about the floor is breaking underneath you, you're pushing it apart. You're here, contract, pull up like this. Look how ugly my butt looks. You see this? It's not a here, it's a down, pull up. I also see people do them kind of like a this and pull up. No. Feels fucking weird. Push back, push back, push back. Let your butt drop down. Contract, pull up. It's all about pulling your asshole in and up right there. And that's how you do a dumbbell sumo squat. Honestly, they're not my favorite. I would be so for real. I would do them on a Smith machine if I were you. This was probably like the most requested movement you guys wanted to see, Bulgarians. I prefer to do them on a Smith machine just because it allows me to load more weight and I'm not so focused on how much weight I'm fucking holding because it's on my traps. You can do them with dumbbells, you can do them with like whatever fucking machine you want. It's gonna be the same thing. No matter if I'm using a machine you don't have in your gym right now, it's still the same cues and you can still replicate this with like dumbbells, you know? So the biggest thing, let me just show you actually, this is how the fuck I used to do these. Now when I do these, look how my knee is traveling forward, right? I'm very up and down when I do these. Now, what you wanna do is slow these the fuck down. When it comes to every glute movement you do, slow it the fuck down. Stop going Like it should be on these 1, 2, 3, pause the bottom 4, 5, 6, 7, like slow your shit down. A full top set of like 10, 12 reps should take you honestly like a minute and a half. So when you do these, the biggest thing with a Bulgarian is everyone's gonna tell you you need a forward lean, which yes is true, but what's more important is that you are driving your hips backward. Almost like this is kind of like an RDL and a lunge combo. So when it's the same thing also when you do like a step back lunge, Bulgarian, same shit. You wanna think about keeping this knee stacked over your ankle. When we are prioritizing quads, you want knee flexion, which means your knee goes forward. See how much my knee is bending? When we're prioritizing glutes, you want hip flexion. So think about keeping this over the midline here, over your ankle, pushing these hips back, 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 back. You see how much more of a stretch I get here up through my glutes instead of here? Feel that? Also a cue that I find that helps is thinking about rather than lunging up and down, think about lunging to like your back angle almost. So you're kind of going back like this and back up. Now let's do it on like an actual Smith machine, you know? When you get under here, this is actually something I feel like a lot of people don't know either. You see the little like textured part on the bar? This is where you're gonna start your hands. That way you can squeeze your shoulder blades together and this can sit across your traps instead of sitting right on your neck. Bring your foot like, instead of right under the bar, like right in front of it here, push up here so that my torso is right under the bar, my foot's in front of it. This foot back on the bench, dig through your heel. Everything is through your heel, remember? Push these hips back, 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 back. All the way down here, get the biggest stretch you can here. Push up through your glutes there. Don't lock out at the top, keep that tension the whole time. Push, push. Engage your core as you're doing this, push up. Push these back. Another cue that I find helps is when you do these, think about your knee traveling backwards. So yes, you want to keep your knee stacked over your ankle, but think about almost going back a bit when you do it so you can get all of that tension on your posterior. So moral of the story here is push your hips back, push through your heels, and keep your knee stacked right above your ankle. Okay, next movement y'all asked about was a single leg press. Y'all know I love a hip press, reason being, if you want to come like over here, if you look at the seat itself, it is completely upright, right? So your back legs are at like a 90-degree angle. This puts you in the best position to stretch from your hip, right, and stretch your hamstrings and your glutes. That's why I like her, but I know a lot of you don't have that machine in your gym. So we're gonna go over to, this is the leg press that my gym has. I know that, dude. I'm gonna be honest with you, you can do it on one of these, but if you have a hip press or if you have a gym near you that has a hip press, it's like a million times better. Okay, and if you don't have a hip press and you cannot travel to your nearest gym that has one, pick the leg press that has the seat like forward the most, because we wanna get as much hip flexion here. So look at my back, look at my hips, right? The more of a stretch we get here, the more glute we get, right? So I put my foot pretty high on this. Push up, like I'm gonna go forward here. Push through your fucking heels. Like you can push through the balls of your feet too, but really push through your heels and think about getting as much knee flexion here as possible, as much stretch here. Same thing on the RDLs where we contracted at the bottom, hip thrust we contracted at the bottom, same thing. Think about contracting, push up through your glutes here, don't lock out, all the way down. Get that stretch, contract, push on up here. What you want to avoid is using one that's more far back and bringing your foot down. You want to avoid doing this, getting more knee flexion. You want as much hip flexion as you possibly can get. Let your knees go outwards. So obviously if I just let it go straight, it's gonna hit my titty. You wanna let it go out, push through that heel, 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 contract, push up. You'll also see in a lot of my videos, I literally like touch my tie-in, feel that contract, and pull up there. And yeah, that's pretty much that. However, I will say if you're a very quad dominant girly, the biggest advice that I honestly taught myself was a lot of these movements, it's not about you're not gonna feel your quads ever, A lot of these movements, it's not about the fact that you're not gonna feel your quads at all. A lot of these movements, you're still probably gonna like feel your quads, but it's about learning how to like shut that off in your brain and be like, shut the fuck up quads, we're focusing on glutes. And make sure you're still getting that same connection in your glutes as well. Especially when you do something like a Bulgarian, your last couple reps, I would be lying to you if I said you're not gonna feel any quad engagement at all. You probably are, but as long as you are still feeling that connection in your glutes at the same time, that's what matters. Okay, moving on to step ups. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I don't do these. I don't do these. Unpopular opinion, I do think there are better movements, especially if you're like super fucking quad dominant. Not saying they're bad. You can do them, they're just not in my programming. I will show you though regardless because you guys asked about this too. I, for these, would prefer to use a like little, what do I call this? A bench that's not a bench, a step up. I don't know, whatever the fuck this is called, platform. Because the benches, it depends on your gym. Like you wanna pick like the tallest bench they have because once again, we wanna stretch right here, keeping all of your weight in this foot. Think about getting as much hip flexion as you possibly can here. Push through your heel. Obviously, you can hold dumbbells. I'm just to show you. Push off, boom. Push off through your heel here. Slowly, 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 slowly go down. Drop it here. But you're pushing off the majority of your weight here, getting as much of a stretch here as you possibly can, and push up. Where a lot of people go wrong is they do this. That's gonna be quad fucking city. You need to slow this down, like I said, slow down every single one of your movements. Lean this forward so we can push this hip back. Keep this dumbbell here. Hold your fucking ass. Don't be afraid to hold your glutes in the middle of the gym. You're gonna have to do it. Push up here. Slow, slow, feel that stretch on the way down. There. Push down like that. But keep that stretch there. Feel that contract. And slow, 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 slow here. And remember, same thing like a Bulgarian, this is stacked over your ankle. That's step up. Like I said, not gonna lie, I really don't fucking do these. Okay, moving into glute med kickbacks. So those like crossover ones you see people doing. Kickbacks can be hard. I'm not gonna lie to you, it took me literally like 4 years to figure them out, but I'm gonna help you, okay? So what I do with these, in general with kickbacks, I feel like a lot of people go wrong by just like keeping your standing leg like just here. Think about like engaging it. Like put this foot into the fucking ground. You should feel your hamstring here. And when you kick back like that, I don't know. I feel like it's a weird cue, but I feel like a lot of people are just kind of like here, like drive that shit into the ground. So with a glute med kickback, you're gonna wanna do this weird crossover thing. Step over like way more than you need to. And this back foot is going to start here, like behind your calf, and just kick back and out like that. So right behind. This is probably gonna hit you, it's okay. And open this foot here. So it stops there, kick back up to this corner a little bit, kick out. You should feel this right up here, this little glute meat. Boom. Okay. I feel like you guys just kind of need to see that to do it, but just think when you're here, step this foot back, step this way over more than you need to, start it here, and it's not like a complete like here to here. Like I feel like a lot of people feel like, sorry, you just really that was a coochie shot, like straight coochie shot. Like it's not like an aggressive like corner. Does that make sense? Like it's really more so just like here to here. And like I said, hold that fucking glute. Wherever you're trying to target, hold that shit and force yourself to engage with it. And if you're someone that like really struggles with your standing leg, like your non-working leg, feeling like it's working more than your actual working leg, you can take a bench and like set the bench up like this, put this knee into it, and like push your hip into it so that you can stabilize this leg. But honestly, for me, I used to feel that way. It just took time, and honestly, like digging my foot into the ground and engaging my hams and glutes as I do it, like really changed the game for me. Yeah, that's all I got for kickbacks, I'm gonna be honest with you. Kick this foot when you do this. This foot kind of goes out to the side like this, and keep this core engaged. Almost think about like tucking your hips under like this. If your back takes over on a kickback, it's because your back is overcompensating for your glutes. So keep this tucked here and just use, that's why I hold my upper glute here, so I can feel that doing the work. Because when it comes to glutes, like literally any glute movement, if you give your lower back the opportunity to take over, it's gonna take over. Okay, honestly, nobody has to see this, but I see this done wrong all the time. And honestly, people just complain about these on TikTok all the time, so I'm gonna explain it to you. A lot of people complain about these not working, it's your back, it's your back, it's your back. The problem is y'all need to slow shit fucking down, okay? When you do these, if you feel like it's hamstring city, bend your knees, make this shorter so that you can bend your knees and turn your toes out like this. So you're almost in like a weird like bent sumo stance. What a lot of people do is you'll go down here. When you're down here, we're getting that stretch in our hamstrings and our glutes, right? Think about it kind of as, again, a horizontal RDL, like a hip thrust, but kind of like flipped around. You're here, a lot of people will do the hunchback of Notre Dame and go up like this. If you want to target your upper glutes, keep that shit flat. However, this machine is originally made for your lower back, right? So if you let your lower back take over, it's gonna take over, right? So when you're here, start with not even holding anything. Touch the top of your upper glute, slowly keep your back straight, slowly use your glutes and only your glutes to pull you up. You should feel your upper glute here engaging when you do that. And slow this shit down. If you go fast and you have a plate here, your erectors are gonna take over, babe. It's gonna fucking happen. Slow this shit down, get this hinge right here, contract, slow, let your upper glutes do all the work. But yeah, this is a movement I see people complain about on TikTok literally all the fucking time and how it doesn't work, this, that, and the third. If you take anything from this video, it's not that, oh, I did hip thrust once, hip thrusts don't work, the girls are lying, RDLs don't work, oh, this doesn't work, whatever. Sometimes, and take it from me, somebody who had to literally rethink all of my glute training over the past 2 years, it's not that the movement is wrong and that people are lying, it's that you just need to get better at it or find a new way to make it work for you. Sometimes certain cues, maybe everything in this fucking video I said, you're like, bitch, what the fuck, right? Maybe it doesn't work for you, but you have to manipulate these movements because at the end of the day, a hip thrust, a squat, a hip hinge variation, all of these isolation movements that we do, they're gonna grow your glutes. If RDLs, hip thrusts, squats, and any kind of isolation kickback movement doesn't work for you, it's not the movement. You need to find a new way to make it work for you. So it's not always that we need to throw the whole exercise away. Sometimes you just got to think smarter and you have to figure out how to do it. But yeah, that's the video. Thank you for joining. I don't know, subscribe, bitch. Okay, bye.
Who you a fool for this? Who you a fool for this?
I walk like I talk like I act like I look like I think like my shit don't stink. I fuck like I suck like I ride like I taste like I look like my shit don't stink. I walk like I